Welcome to the Deep Frame. I'm your host, and you are currently part of the most significant event in the history of independent media. We are live for a marathon reaction session because the world is changing at a velocity the mainstream media literally cannot process. They are stuck in the old frame, the globalist, depth based surrender first frame. We are in the deep frame. Today, we aren't just reacting to the news, we are reacting to the systematic demolition of the old guard. From the smoking ruins of Tehran's drone factories to the gold backed digital rails that are about to incinerate the Fiat nightmare. We have it all. I have intelligence here that hasn't hit the public wire yet. This is for the capitalists, the freedom fighters, and the realists.
Aviation War Room. Surveillance active. Targets identified on the North Apron. Aviation War Room. Locking coordinates for Strike Package Alpha. Impact in 5 seconds.
Initial impacts confirmed. Taxiway Zulu is now non-operational. Aviation War Room continuing sweep.
Aviation War Room. Direct hit on Target 2. Thermal bloom suggests fuel ignition. Multiple splashes confirmed. Aviation War Room reporting total suppression of the western sector.
Switching to wide angle. Aviation War Room assessing. Direct hit on Shelter 3.
Okay, I don't think this is what I was looking for. Let me see.
Watch how fast the situation escalates.
Yeah, guys, good morning. We do start with some breaking news out of the UAE, where officials say that a drone attack against a nuclear power plant caused a fire at a generator on the outskirts of the facility. This is a significant attack and likely conducted by the Iranian regime. It comes as tension continues to rise across the Middle East as the region waits to see if the war will resume in the days ahead. So far, efforts toward a diplomatic solution with Iran have been unsuccessful, with officials in Tehran unwilling to make the necessary concessions to reach a deal. President Trump spoke on his return flight from China, indicating he didn't like the first sentence of the Iranian response to the U.S. peace proposal.
I looked at it, and if I don't like the first sentence, I just throw it away. What was the first sentence?
They don't appear on any official military roster. They answer to no parliament, no court, no public. And right now, at this very moment, they are operating in at least a dozen countries. This is the organization that Iran's own supreme leader calls his most trusted weapon. Born from revolution. It's 1979. The Shah has fled. The streets of Tehran are flooded with millions of Iranians who just dismantled one of the most powerful monarchies in the Middle East. But the revolutionaries knew something. Toppling a government is one thing. Keeping power is another.
Okay, guys, give me a second. Bear with me. I'm trying to find the correct footage.
Aviation War Room. Surveillance active.
There you go.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it's launched a series of drone attacks targeting a US military base in Iraq. The group says its ground forces targeted a base in Erbil, that's in northern Iraq. The IRGC says it was part of what it described as 3 simultaneous operations, including strikes on 2 US military bases in Kuwait.
Look at this footage. This isn't a movie. This is the IRGC's primary drone assembly plant in Isfahan, or what's left of it. The media calls it a fragile truce. I call it a surrender queue. As of this morning, May 22nd, 2026, Operation Epic Fury has achieved a 90% destruction rate of Iran's entire defense industrial base. We didn't just hit targets, we leveled the very ability of the regime to exist as a military power. President Trump revealed yesterday he was exactly 1 hour away from a leadership strike that would have decapitated the IRGC command structure before they sent a 5-point submission document through Pakistan.
That would have blocked you.
Mahmoud Abdul Wahed joins us live from Baghdad. Bring us up to speed, Mahmoud. Drone strikes on US installations and targets, a pattern of what we've been seeing across the entire region. What impact do you understand that may have had?
Well, it definitely resonating inside Iraq. I mean, the conflict, regional conflict, Neve. As you know, that there is what is so-called the Islamic resistance. There's a pro-Iranian umbrella group that includes several armored groups inside Iraq. They have claimed the responsibility of targeting several locations, U.S. locations inside Iraq. The latest was the Victory base that's annexed to the Baghdad International Airport, but the drone was shot down. That comes only hours after another drone was sent by the Islamic resistance that was intercepted in front of Baghdad International Airport. As you know, that Victory base includes also a logistical support, U.S. logistical support and diplomatic center there. Security.
Everyone is talking about the 5-point plan. They missed the 6th point. My sources confirm the secret protocol. Iran is required to physically transfer its entire 400-kilogram stockpile of highly enriched uranium directly to the United States. We aren't monitoring them. We are taking the fuel.
U.S. military
Sources here in Iraq say they have also captured 9 rockets and a launch pad in Abu Ghraib area in the vicinity of Baghdad. They were prepared to attack several locations in Baghdad. In Jurf al-Sakhr, south of Baghdad, that's north of Babylon province, which is home to several Iran-aligned armored groups, including the Popular Mobilization Units. The area witnessed another airstrike. As you know, that it has been witnessing several U.S. and Israeli airstrikes over the past few days since the military campaign started. Now, this is the situation in central Iraq. In northern Iraq, in Slaymaniyah last night, a building that was formerly used by the UN was hit. Officials in the Kurdish region say they're not sure whether it was hit by a drone or a missile, but officials also in the Kurdish region say that Iranians suspect that that building was home to U.S. military individuals. On the other hand, you know, the Iranian opposition parties that are based in the Kurdish region in northern Iraq.
Yeah.
Their locations have been hit several times also by Iranian drones. As you know, that Iran accuses the United States and the Israeli Mossad of training and equipping Iranian opposition groups and parties in northern Iraq. You know, the last thing, Neve, if you allow me, you have different positions here, political positions. The politicians want Iraq not to be a ground to settle scores, not to be a launch pad to attack any neighboring country.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the armed groups, the Iran-aligned armed groups, vow to retaliate and attack all U.S. and Israeli interests in the region.
That's it. So he said it better than I would have said it. Right. So now we're moving over to
All right, well, now a close-up look at the aftermath of Israeli strikes on Tehran.
Wait, no, this is not it. Why is it sending me? Okay. Wait, no. The IRGCS says they've rescued 7,200 people, but they don't tell you that 30 of their 33 missile sites along the Strait of Hormuz were operational 48 hours ago and are now gone. Trump's message: the US pays for nothing. No reparations, no asset unfreezing, only surrender. We have the Persian Gulf Strait Authority managing the energy flow now, not the mullahs.
The spokesperson for the Iranian Red Crescent Society stating that Iranian media that at least 201 people have been killed across the country and more than 700 people are injured. Joining us now is Michael Singh. He's the former senior director for Middle East Affairs at the National Security Council and now the managing director and senior fellow at the Washington Institute. Michael, thank you for joining me. I gotta ask you, why do you think the U.S. chose now to strike?
Well, you have to remember, Ike, we had strikes on Iran back in June of last year. Those were ended, you could argue, prematurely. Remember that President Trump called for a unilateral ceasefire after one day, and that left a lot of targets unaddressed, even though Iran's nuclear program was set back. Then in January, you had these massive protests in Iran with perhaps 30,000 people killed by the regime in the streets, and President Trump promised to come to the rescue of those protesters. That really started this current crisis where, President Trump, I think, felt like he had to, either sort of secure concessions from the regime or, frankly, do something militarily to back up the threats that he made.
Now, given your experience coordinating U.S. policy, does this align with the broader U.S. objectives in the Middle East?
Well, frankly, the concerns that President Trump outlined in his video about Iran are concerns that presidents have had with Iran really since 1979 for the most part. Its missile program, its nuclear program, its support for terrorism. In the past, we've hesitated to use military force for what we fear would be the fallout. But I think what we saw last June and over the last 2 years was that perhaps Iran was not as strong as we thought. And so I think what you're seeing now is just a lower bar, frankly, for the use of American force against those longstanding threats.
Right now, President Trump is seizing this time when Congress is out and many people tune out of politics to try to seize powers at the limits of presidential authority. Trump continuing to deploy federal troops in the streets, changing the look and feel of what was very recently a more peaceful, normal Washington, now with these militarized scenes.
The political landscape was pruned of its dead wood on May 19th. Trump's endorsement record 49-0. The total obliteration of Thomas Massie by former Navy SEAL Ed Gowrain is the most significant primary result in a generation. Massie tried to play the independent card, while our boys were taking fire in the Gulf. Now he's a private citizen.
Operations in Iran.
And Trump is claiming he can unilaterally fire a member of the Independent Federal Reserve, Lisa Cook, seen there with the Chairman Powell. And he's trying to tip the majority of what has always been this legally independent central banking board. This builds on the president's longer efforts to use partisan pressure against the board's leader, Powell, to try to take economic actions that would boost Trump's administration.
All lies. But we'll make a video on that specific narrative, we'll say. Ho, we have a mutiny in the Senate. Thom Tillis, who is retiring and in his YOLO era, has become a one-man blockade. He is vowing to sink acting AG Todd Blanche and holding up Kevin Warsh's Fed seat. Why? Because Blanche just negotiated a $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund to pay restitution to patriots and J6 defendants who were persecuted by the previous administration. Tillis calls it stupid on stilts.
Multiple sources are telling CNN that a highly anticipated report from the Pentagon's watchdog finds that the Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, could have put U.S. troops in danger by using an app to share highly sensitive military attack plans. A classified report on what has been informally dubbed Signalgate is now in the hands of Congress tonight. The unclassified version of that report is expected to be publicly released tomorrow.
Look at him. Tillis is terrified because he knows his time is up. He's calling the president's inner circle clueless, while we're busy winning a war on two fronts. We are watching you, Senator. The 49-0 streak is coming for your legacy next.
Until Congress explicitly approves it. But some Republican senators have signaled they...
And it comes as the already embattled secretary finds himself embroiled in another widening investigation tonight. That one is into the U.S. airstrike in the Caribbean that killed survivors who did not die in the initial strike on an alleged drug boat, but instead as the result of a second one on the wrecked ship that they were clinging to. Members of both parties here in D.C. tonight have said that that strike could constitute a war crime. It's a serious allegation, and both of these events tonight have amplified concerns about the secretary himself, even from some prominent Republicans on Capitol Hill. On the Signal front, you may remember it was a huge story when someone on a group chat of top government officials mistakenly added a reporter as they were talking about an imminent U.S. attack in Yemen. The secretary responded tonight by posting, quote, "No classified information, total exoneration, case closed." But Secretary Hegseth's messages included material from documents that were marked classified.
So why, right? Why? Because Blanche just negotiated a $1.776 billion anti-weaponization fund, right? Like I said before. And now for the capitalists, this is how we win the long game. We are moving to a hard asset reality. Gold has smashed $4,800 an ounce, and the target is now the $8,900 inflationary spike. Let's go ahead and check this out. Let's see. Okay, and the fiat.
In 1965, foreign governments saw the writing on the wall with the US dollar as the world reserve currency. They didn't wait for the public to notice. They certainly didn't wait for any headlines. They converted their dollars into physical gold because governments always act first. And have we not seen the rise in gold buying from the global central banks? And oh, by the way, the public always acts last. And the timeline, quite honestly, always tells the story.
Now, I'm gonna tell my story, right? Dr. Judy Shelton is back in the inner circle. She is finalizing the proposal for gold-backed Treasury Trust bonds. This isn't just backing the dollar. We are talking about a potential replacement of the Federal Reserve note with a US Treasury note backed by gold, silver, and oil. This will effectively incinerate the funny money used by globalist cartels and human traffickers.
I don't see money as just another policy tool to be managed or manipulated by government to achieve its economic objectives. And my idea is that for the first time since Nixon cut off any link between the value of the US dollar and gold, it would be interesting if our Treasury issued a new security, I call them Treasury Trust bonds, that offered gold convertibility at maturity. But I like that idea because ever since President Trump started saying how we really need to appreciate the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, I thought, how perfect. Let's issue this on July 4, 2026, and let's have it mature on our 300th, on July 4, 2076. Because you know what? It's a little shocking if you say to people, do you think the United States will still be standing tall in 50 years? I'm not sure everyone thinks so.
Welcome back to the Gold Exchange podcast, the currency, but
then to gain a trade advantage, they would depreciate the national gold standard, and roughly the whole world was from 1880 about the whole money supply. This wouldn't be the smallest sort of treasury offering that is out there, but it wouldn't be the smallest either. This would be like, and the whole idea was that banks wanted to be loaned out, but they had to keep a certain amount in reserves at the Federal Reserve. And it averaged about 10% of their deposits. So if up to 10% of their depositors came in one day and said, I want my money out, they could do it without it being an emergency. They had cash. But they wanted to minimize that because they earned nothing on the cash. Well, when Bernanke knew that he would be putting all of this potential new cash into the system that could be loaned out, he also wanted to be able to keep that from becoming hyperinflationary.